Luka versus Lamelo Ball. Most NBA fanatics may cringe at the thought of comparing a player who's barely 10 games into his career to one of last year's MVP candidates, Luka Doncic. But when you truly analyze their performances, style of play, opportunities, and a multitude of other factors, they actually become fairly comparable in a variety of ways. They basically mirror each other in nearly every statistical category and the roles they play for their respective teams, with really the only difference being that we've seen 2 more years of Doncic than we have of Lamelo. In this episode of Hoop Nation, we're going to break down the 2 players to truly understand who'll have a more successful career. We'll start with their obvious strengths and weaknesses, analyze their December matchup, compare their current stats, and finally, we'll dive deeper into their success in the future by comparing their experience, injury history, style of play, their current coaches, and a couple more variables. Be sure to stay till the end as we'll be revealing the winner. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe to our growing channel. Let's get into it. Strengths and weaknesses. Lamelo Ball. First, let's start off with Lamelo. At just 19 years old, Lamelo measures in at 6 feet 7 inches and weighs only 180 pounds. His current strengths include his size. It's unusual to have a point guard that's 6'7" and 180 pounds. His quickness.
In the open court, Lamelo Ball.
His elite passing ability and his crafty vision. On the other hand, his weaknesses include inefficiency. He began the season shooting a far worse percentage, and it wasn't until recently that he's improved his efficiency levels.
Look, Lamelo got it!
Needs to get bigger. He needs to get bigger and stronger if he wants to hang with the big boys and take advantage of his massive 6'7" frame. If he can bulk up, he's going to be a serious problem for any point guard. Luka, on the other hand, stands at 6'7", but weighs 50 pounds more than Melo at 230 pounds. The 21-year-old's strengths include his size. He's much larger than Lamelo and has more weight to throw against opponents. He's physical. He loves using his body to create shots. He's a creative passer. He's got flashy, highlight reel type passes.
As steady as they come, you know Luka's gonna give it up between the legs.
He's got a confident demeanor. He's not scared to take the last shot, and he proved it against LeBron in the bubble last year. A high basketball IQ. He's good at situational basketball, knows where to be on the floor, and finds creative ways to get his teammates open.
Over his head for the 7-3 Porzingis.
His weaknesses include he's less athletic than other point guards. While he does have size over most other point guards, both in terms of height and weight, he's not nearly as athletic, making him slower and not able to get off the ground as much as others. A poor 3-point percentage. Though his field goal percentage is solid and free throw percentage is bearable, his 3-point percentage is the main concern. He's able to find his points in other ways, but if he were to improve his efficiency from long range, it would drastically help the team's chance of winning and his own chance of winning that first MVP. December matchup. The funniest thing about this comparison is that these two actually played each other a few weeks back, in which Lamelo and the Hornets pulled off the upset against the Doncic-led Mavs in a 118-99 showdown. Ball had a tremendous night, and maybe even his best night yet in his young career, scoring a game-high 22 points, along with 8 rebounds, 5 assists, going 4 from 5 from 3-point range. Doncic, however, struggled in the outing, managing to put up only 12 points and 5 assists. Lamelo's been inconsistent to begin his career, coming off the bench for his first 4 NBA games before entering the December matchup against Luka, at which point he was only averaging 6.3 points per game. Though he'd made a few big-time plays, many of which surfaced the Twitter sphere, his impact had been relatively minimal before the big game. He came out of the games aggressive, dishing out a couple of assists and banging a 3-pointer from over 30 feet out, finishing it off with an offensive rebound and buzzer beater to end the first quarter. One of the main concerns about Ball had been his shooting. Like his brother Lonzo, the mechanics in his shot are certainly not conventional, but ever since his matchup against the Mavs, he's been hitting his shots and getting his teammates more involved too. Though they differ in their ability to score the ball, they both control the pace of the game and are able to set up their teammates in similar flashy fashions. Let's take a look at some stats. 2020 to 2021 NBA season individual stats so far. Luka Doncic plays around 34 minutes per game. He's shooting 26.6 points per game with a 45% field goal percentage. He's also getting 9.3 rebounds per game, 8.3 assists, 4.5 turnovers, 1 steal, and 0.63 blocks per game. Lamelo, on the other hand, is racking up 24.9 minutes per game. He's shooting 13.1 points per game with a 44% field goal percentage. He's also pulling 6.3 rebounds per game, 5.9 assists, 2.1 turnovers, 1.5 steals, and 0.3 blocks per game. It's also important to note Luka's rookie numbers as we're comparing Melo, who's also currently a rookie. In his rookie season, Luka averaged 32.2 minutes per game, 21.1 points per game with a 42.7% field goal percentage, 7.8 rebounds per game, 5.9 assists, 3.4 turnovers, 1.1 steals, and 0.3 blocks per game. Futures in the NBA. Who has a better chance to win the title? When considering who's got a better chance to win the title, there are so many layers to consider, some of which include their 1. Style of play, 2. Injury history and longevity, 3. Supporting cast, 4. Their experience, 5. Their coach, and 6. The history of the two franchises. 1. Style of play, advantage, toss-up. They're both tremendous at creating their own shots, Luka more so through his physicality and Lamelo through his quickness and technical ability. But both have the potential to be the go-to guy on offense for any given night and are most likely going to be relied upon to be that guy. They're both always looking to set up their teammates in prime spots on the floor and are elite playmakers on the fast break. Both of great size and length, being that they're both 6'7" in height. And although Ball carries less weight than Doncic, Lamelo's still only a rookie, and many young players out of college take a while to put on their grown man weight, excluding Kevin Durant, of course. In terms of their abilities, they both possess next-level passing skills, creative vision, and are both triple-double machines. Already established as two of the flashiest passers in the league, and Ball already has an outstanding assist-turnover ratio of 2.8 compared to Luka's 1.8, and Ball's averaging 5.9 assists per game, which is exactly what Luka averaged in his rookie season, and this number seems to be climbing of late. Luka's more physical, however, weighing 230 pounds, so he's roughly 50 pounds heavier than Lamelo, and can therefore body bigger players in the paint and finish to the rim with physicality, creating more opportunities to get to the free throw line as well. Now this may come with time for Lamelo, but as of right now, Luka certainly has the advantage. Lamelo, however, is shooting a better percentage of his shots than Luka was in his rookie year on fewer attempts and with less minutes. Not to mention the fact that he's committing less turnovers. So while Luka has the advantage in size and strength, Lamelo may already have the upper hand in his efficiency and pace of the game. 2. Injury history, longevity. Advantage, Lamelo Ball. Though all of his injuries have been relatively minor, it's worth noting that the majority of them have involved either his knees or ankles. Not to say this is problematic because once again most of them were simply contusions or sprains, but being that he's 2 years older than Lamelo and he carries more weight as well, I feel like there's a slightly greater risk of injury from Doncic. Lamelo is certainly a much quicker and versatile player, which may put him in more situations where he could injure himself. I just feel like the weight, age and lengthier history of injuries with Doncic would give me more concern than with Lamelo, though it is only just slight. 3. Supporting cast. Advantage, Luka Doncic. On top of the fact that he already has playoff experience and a second start in Porzingis, who, as long as he can stay healthy, is capable of playing at an all-star level and rising to be the second guy on a championship team. The Mavs will need more depth and to find a third guy. They've got great role players like Brunson, Hardaway Jr. and Cauley Stein, but on the nights where Luka and Porzingis are either cold, injured or shut down, they're going to need a third star to rise up and take over. The Hornets, in comparison, don't really have anything solid to build off. They recently signed Gordon Hayward to a mega deal, who's actually been playing great since the start of the season. The issue is he already carries a lot of questions in terms of his durability and longevity, as he's had a few serious injuries since the start of his career. Past that, they've got tremendous young talents like Rozier, Graham, Bridges and Washington, but none of them have either made the playoffs, nor played at an all-star level consistently enough to compete with the best. Devontae Graham's the only one who's played at that level, but even still, he's only really had one real year of success. As well as the fact that him, as well as Rozier, play the same position as Lamelo, it makes it very hard to believe that all three of them are going to play a role in the Hornets' future. So for Lamelo, his surrounding cast, well, at least right now, is nowhere near as competitive as Luka's. And though they may turn out to be similar players, both in terms of style and statistics, they play for two very different franchises, for two very different coaches. Number 4, experience. Advantage, Luka Doncic. This one is somewhat obvious, but nonetheless relevant when considering the comparison, and who'll have a better chance of winning the title. Playoff experience matters, hence why the Toronto Raptors work so hard to retrieve players like Marc Gasol, Danny Green and Kawhi Leonard, even if that was just a one-year rental, all of which played pivotal roles in the Raps' 2019 run to the championship. Or why the Lakers last year went out and grabbed guys like Rajon Rondo, Dwight Howard and Danny Green, because not only have they been to the playoffs and the finals, but they've also won there, and with different teams. Simply put, playoff experience matters, and so when comparing these two and the future of their careers, we must look at who's more likely to make the playoffs and gain more experience. As of right now, obviously Luka Doncic has the advantage because LaMelo's a rookie and Luka's coming off an impressive playoff appearance. LaMelo can obviously gain more experience over the years, but personally, I believe the Mavericks are going to have an easier time making the playoffs over the next few years than the Hornets. 5. Coaches. Advantage, Luka Doncic. Charlotte Hornets, James Borrego. Record as Hornets head coach, 62-85. A longtime Spurs assistant with brief head coach gigs with the Orlando Magic and New Orleans Hornets before ending up in Charlotte in 2018. Now in his third season with the team, steadily improving each year with a plethora of young talent. Coach Borrego has minimal head coach experience or success, but he does come from one of the most decorated coaches in NBA history and perhaps the greatest basketball mind of all time, Greg Popovich. Dallas Mavericks, Rick Carlisle. Record as Mavericks head coach, 513 and 448. Rick Carlisle spent years playing in the NBA before he began coaching, having spent the last 13 years in Dallas, posting an amazing record, including one illustrious run to the championship with Dirk Nowitzki. Between the two, it's somewhat obvious who has the advantage here, as only one of these coaches has posted an above .500 season and won an NBA championship as a head coach. 6. History of the two franchises. Advantage, Luka Doncic. Also, things to consider would be each team's chances of making big free agent moves or off-season trades, who's likely to draft better to build around their stars Luka and LaMelo. Of the two franchises, Dallas has showed more of a history of making big moves like that, and so it's more likely that if things start to go bad, or if they start to notice a trend of failure, then they'll be more open to taking a chance and making dramatic changes to the roster. Charlotte hasn't shown this in recent history. They'd probably have more assets to move around, as they've got a lot of young players still on their rookie contracts, but they're not known as a team who's willing to shake up things when the going gets tough. In conclusion, as you can see, there are a multitude of factors that you can consider when comparing these two players. The above-mentioned factors are simply those that I feel play the most important role in predicting the future of a player. Obviously, with LaMelo being only 10 games into his young career, this is something we have to monitor and adjust accordingly. However, between the two of these guys right now, I believe Luka clearly has a higher chance of winning a title immediately. Fairly similar in that the future of these two franchises will rely heavily on the two stars' abilities to maximize their potential. I just believe that with what each player currently has around them, their individual playoff experience, and then considering the history of the two franchises and the coaches of them as well, I find it hard to believe that Lamelo Ball will win a championship before Luka Doncic. Who will finish their career as more successful? As far as who's more likely to have a better career, this is somewhat difficult to predict in that LaMelo's only played so many games. However, from what he's shown and the opportunity he'll surely be given in Charlotte, I'm confident that much like Luka, he'll one day rise to be an elite player in the NBA. Both are triple-double monsters who can do everything on the floor. They both offer great length and defensive awareness, and they strive in their ability to space the floor and set their teammates up with open looks. However, as mentioned previously, due to the history of the two franchises, the two coaches they currently have, and the pieces around these two players, I believe that Luka Doncic is more likely to have a successful career. Let me know what you think in the comments. Was I correct in picking Luka?